Boston, and the eye was directed at Kyrie Irving. A Celtic fan was arrested after allegedly throwing a water bottle at the former Celtic. The bottle missed Irving, who was walking towards the tunnel following the Nets' 141-126 win on Sunday night. Kyrie, talk to me.
It's unfortunate, that sports has come to a lot of this, kind of crossroads where you're seeing a lot of old ways come up. It's been part of that. It's been that way in history in terms of entertainment and performers in sports for a long period of time, of just underlying racism and just treating people like they're in a human zoo. Throwing stuff at people, saying things. There's a certain point where it just gets to be too much. So, I called it out. I just wanted to keep it strictly basketball, and then you just see that people just feel very entitled out here. They pay for the tickets, great. I'm grateful that they're coming in to watch a great performance, but it's just, we're not at the theater. We're not throwing tomatoes and other random stuff at the people that are performing. It's too much.
I mean, fans got to grow up at some point. I know that being in the house for a year and a half with the pandemic, got a lot of people on edge, got a lot of people stressed out. But when you come to these games, you got to realize, man, these men are human. We not animals. We not in a circus. Grow the up and enjoy the game. It's bigger than you.
I think that was so well said by KD there. I just want to remind you guys, this is the second time a fan has thrown something at a player while they were leaving the court this postseason. We saw a Sixers fan banned from Wells Fargo Center after dumping popcorn on Russell Westbrook while he walked off the court during Game 2 of the Wizards' first-round series against Philly. Stephen A., how does the league handle this? How do we as the media handle this moving forward?
Well, first of all, I love the fact that the kid was arrested. Mm-hmm. I hope he's still in jail. I don't know if they took him to jail, but if they did it, they should have. And if he was taken, he should still be there. That's number one. Number two, I love the fact that we all saw him on camera. I think that shame and humiliation is an important deterrent because a lot of times people are emboldened because they get to hide. And when you show that everything's going to be brought to light, then that serves as a potential deterrent. Number three, in the interest of fairness, I also think that's important because we all know that the players, the athletes themselves, they would be in this position. They would be put front and center and their faces would be treated like mugshots if they were to engage in any kind of insidious behavior. And so I love that. But the NBA, as I said last week, everybody needs to be on alert. Now, the racism and all of that stuff that Kyrie alluded to. I also want to point out there's a whole bunch of people in that crowd that pointed out the kid who threw that bottle. Okay? So I think that's incredibly important to point out. That it wasn't people turning a blind eye and a deaf ear. They were like, oh, no, that was him. And everybody pointed that kid out. And it was a beautiful thing that they did that because that's incredibly important, particularly with Boston and its history to some degree, which is what Kyrie Irving alluded to. Having said all of that, let's take this a step further because, as I said last week, Max, it's not just about the fact that George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, the cop in Minneapolis, and then there was social justice issues and protests and initiatives that were taking place. You had a whole bunch of people that were stuck home, like Kevin Durant alluded to. And they've been waiting to get at these players. They've been waiting to get at them. I don't believe they came to the court, even though Kyrie, you could say it was classless or whatever. He stepped on the leprechaun at midcourt and all of this other stuff. I don't believe for 1 second that things like that prompt somebody to do the kind of stuff that we saw.
Here's that incident you just alluded to where he's stepping on the leprechaun.
I don't believe that's what did it. I believe you've got folks who come to these games and they have an agenda. They know exactly what they want to do ahead of time. I really, really do, particularly with these players. Now, at some point in time, white America is going to have to wake up and stop trying to act like racism is a thing of the past. It's not. It's present. And in my estimation, the reason why I'm able to be cool and calm about it is because I'm not apologizing for saying this. I know there's a bunch of racists out there. I know they've been out there. I know they are out there. And I know they're going to be out there. I don't give a damn what y'all say at all. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying most.
Of course
not. But there are a lot of folks out there who happen to be white that really, really, really have a problem with black people, particularly black athletes, being in those positions. And anytime they get an opportunity to express their venom and vitriol and hostility, they're going to take it. Does it surprise me? I'm not shocked. Of course, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. Trae Young gets spit on. John Morant's family, okay? Of course, you got Kyrie Irving, all right? These are the kind of things that we're talking about here. White men coming at black men, and in a secure, insulated environment where you don't have to worry about direct retaliation, because, and Russell Westbrook, of course, because you know they're going to be restrained. That's what's going on. We understand it. Don't be surprised by it. It's incredibly disappointing. The leagues, the media, and everybody else is just going to have to stand up and say, we know who the hell you are. We know what you are. We're not surprised by it. You'll be dealt with. That's what you do.
I'm not convinced that maybe Kyrie doing that on the on the logo maybe did inflame things more. It's obviously not an excuse to throw something at a player. Believe the guy was wearing a Garnett jersey, right? Like
yes, he was.
Garnett was a dude who gave everything to the organization, the whole Celtic pride thing and everything. And Kyrie, maybe they felt like, no, he didn't. He said he wasn't going to leave. Then he bounced, and then he comes back and disrespects the logo. That is not an excuse. But did that precipitate it? Did they have it? Was it premeditated? I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. I do know this, Stephen A. To me, this is something new. You could say, well, it's like a continuation, but to me, it's something new. I'll tell you why. Because everyone saw it led TV shows. We talked about it on this show a lot. What happened when a fan spat, when a fan threw popcorn? What happened? Indefinite ban. Mm-hmm. And people could say, well, it's not a lifetime ban. What's the difference? A lifetime ban can be lifted. Yeah. This is like an indefinite ban. Like, you ain't coming, like, until further notice, you're out of here. And the fans saw that and did it anyway. That bothers me. Because to me, that is something new. It's like, consequences be damned. Why? He doesn't want to get caught. But if I do get caught, whatever. This is worth it. I think what KD said was so excellent. And it's not even what we showed. Here's the quote. Have some respect for the human beings. He said, we're not in a circus. And have some respect for yourself. Your mother wouldn't be proud of you throwing water bottles at basketball players or spitting on players or tossing popcorn. So grow the expletive up and enjoy the game. It's bigger than you. But have some respect for yourself. I always say, we talk about this sometimes, Stephen, and you're like, well, you can't say that. It's not a good reflection on the people who raised you when you behave that way. Mm-hmm. It's a bad reflection. And I'm torn about showing people, because I don't like shame generally used to teach behavior. But on the one hand, if you show them, it is disgraceful. On the other, maybe some people think they get some clout from doing that. Like in baseball games, remember once upon a time, guys would jump out on the field and do all kinds of wild stuff, and the cameras always show them like a sideshow. And after a while, they realized this encourages copycat behavior. So what they start doing? They wouldn't show it. Mm-hmm.
And that's what Kenny Smith brought up on TNT, and they had a really interesting conversation because Shaq and Charles were like, fans have always been this way. And Kenny said, I think it's very concerning potentially showing their faces because, Max, what you're alluding to, we see this with mega crimes where people are seeking attention and they're seeking fame. So it's really a double-edged sword because, yes, they should be shown, because if it was a player who threw something, it'd be all over, posted over everything. But it is concerning if we're going to get more of these acts because people are looking for attention.
People are looking for attention when they're not concerned about the repercussions and ramifications.
Absolutely.
So if all I have to do is get cuffed and then I have to leave the arena. All right, you might ban me from the arena and I might not give a damn about going to a Celtics game. Mm-hmm. But if I got a $5,000 to $10,000 fine that I'm going to have to pay, if not more, and I'm going to do some time, and everybody in the area is going to know who I am, if not the country, and I'm shamed in that regard, certainly that can be a deterrent. And this is the thing that we also have to pay attention to. And I'm not getting political here, but damn it, I'm going to say it. This First Take. You know what time it is. We've made so many things partisan. There was a riot that took place at the U.S. Capitol this past January 6th. Yeah. And there is I know people have been arrested. And I know people are expected to pay a stiff penalty, but they're few and far between compared to the inordinate amount of folks that showed up in the nation's capital and threatened the lives of elected officials. And what kind of price are you paying? The bottom line is, if you don't show the world that there's a price that you have to pay for such egregious behavior,
that's right.
You're going to serve as an enabler and basically encouraging other people to get away with that.
That's right, and that was partisan. One party were insurrectionists, and now we're blocking, an investigation into it. But that is partisan. This is not partisan, and it's not the NBA either. This is, like legal ramifications. That's for the law. And that's what I mean when I say when you enter an arena, you don't exit the United States of America. You don't exit the state you're in. It's not an embassy. You're not subject to different laws. The NBA can only do so much. They can ban you from the arena. They can have you removed, ban you from the arena. What else can they do? At the next step is you're subject to legal prosecution. And they should be. That's right. I'm just saying that's not on the NBA. That's on law enforcement. And if Trae Young doesn't press charges, what are you going to do?
It's also on the media, because when you talk about how you're not into shaming, my rhetorical question would be, why the hell not? Because the fact of the matter is, anything that could potentially serve as a deterrent is something that should be entertained.
But then there's also those copycat crimes, and I don't want to get really heavy and really deep, but where things can go with that, with different...
Even a fine, if they have the money for great tickets, they might feel like
that's how you deal with people.
They're clout chasing by
we're
paying
not
the
done with
fine.
this conversation. We got more playoffs to get to. We'll revisit this in the second hour, though, because I've got more to talk to you about with it, fellas. Still to come, the Clippers even the series after being down 2-0. Is the bounce back due to Luka's injury, or have the Clippers finally stepped up their play? Find out that and more.